So I got recommended recently to check out the When the Day Breaks. I'm assuming this is SCP Illustrated's little thing that he does on his own, his little series. So this is SCP-001, When Day Breaks, SCP-173, and this one actually just came out a couple days ago. So if you have different SCPs, I know I got a lot to get to from the past, but if you got any from this series that you would want me to check out, also leave them down below. But this is by SCP Illustrated, as I said. So shout out to SCP Illustrated, and let's check this one out. I didn't get any specifics on which one to check out, so now I'm here. But let's continue with the video. It's gonna be a long one, so strap in and let's check it out. See what the series is all about. I'm assuming each one is different, and I don't have a place where I need to start. So with that said, let's start again.
Good day everyone, and welcome back to a new When Day Breaks, this time featuring SCP-173. This is another custom-made story by myself and Dr. Sumerian, so make sure you go and show him some love too. A massive thanks to all the incredible patrons who keep the channel going. A quick word from today's sponsor, and we will get started.
This is custom-made story.
This video is brought to you by Manscaped, and I couldn't be happier because I freaking love Manscaped. They've got the best stuff for your cracking sack, guys. Let's take a quick gander at their
I usually skip the sponsor, so it's okay.
20% off and free shipping.
Use code SCP, that's fucking awesome.
Look at me.
The statue attempted to will it into being, but they refused to listen. SCP-173's mind raced with thoughts of his own inferiority. Why wouldn't you look at me? Why don't you want to see what I am? And the thought shifted to something darker. The impulse returned. He moved directly in front of the man in the orange jumpsuit.
Oh man, I missed Illustrated's badass drawings.
He reached his arms out and grasped the man by the sides of the head. SCP-173 looked the man directly into his closed eyes.
Look at how beautiful I am.
Another whirlwind moment passed. The scene in front of the statue was changed. The man was still frozen in place, but now he was struggling to escape. His eyes were still closed, still avoiding him. Nothing else mattered in that moment. Nothing else could matter. The rage filled him. Hatred took him. He twisted the man's neck.
Ugh.
It bent at a strange angle.
I put the
but
sound.
now he was alone again.
He didn't
feel better. If only they would look at him. See how beautiful he could be. Maybe a light like his was just too blinding. Maybe he'd never find another being in this small, boxed-in universe of his to appreciate what he was.
So is this like how it's made of rhubarb and stuff like that, the canon thing? Is this the canon way SCP-173 looks? Because I know this is the one in the newer game, right? And when I seen it in the newer game, I'm like, oh, is this how he's supposed to look? But yeah, I don't know if you could say he. Can you say he? Yeah, he, because he said he was alone again. Okay.
He suffered through decades of this.
Oh,
men and women alike.
just taking
none with
next.
The will to look upon him. He'd lose moments from time to time, sometimes long moments. But every time he found one of these creatures, they refused to look at him. They closed their eyes to his beauty.
Oof.
Then one day, it all stopped.
One sec, I have to pause. Let me hear the door close. Alright, we're all good.
The air processors fell silent.
They're taking the dog out.
The lights above him failed. He experienced no more lost moments. No more frightened and unappreciative men or women. Just his own loneliness. Was this what freedom was like? Oh, but the waste he produced still continued unabated. It filled the room slowly and methodically. At first a puddle, then to his knees.
What?
When it reached his chest, he felt a fear of his own. He began to think he was going to drown in his own blood and excrement. But when it went over his head, nothing happened. But now he was blinded, alone, scared, his beauty covered in foul brown liquid.
Oh, the video just went HD. Was it not HD before? It looks really good now. It looks really clear. But wait, this is the SCP gives off this like weird, right? It gives off like this weird excrement, I guess. That's canon too. I don't want to pretend like I know SCP-173 so much, but I can only remember like fragments of the game. Like they found SCP 173 in rooms where there would be like these weird marks on the wall, right? Or weird like brown excrement, like, or now I'm saying excrement just because he said it, but like it'd be like, I don't remember if it was like feces and stuff like spread or it was like the victims, but I can't remember.
The dam burst. The moment it happened was such a relief. The pressure of the room released explosively into the next chamber.
Ugh.
His entire body shot out through the hole in the wall, and then he was free. How long had he been confined to that chamber?
Oh.
How many lost months, years? He tried to focus himself.
It's weird to
He
think.
raised himself and began to explore
It's weird to think SCP-173 as being like sentient,
this dark place.
having like some consciousness. That's crazy.
The facility seemed emptied of people. Only the occasional dim emergency light lining the hallway showed him the way. He forced his way through a door into another cell like his own. No, a testing chamber. The decaying skeletal remains of a researcher sat in the corner. Next to him lay a small silver bell missing its ringer. He picked it up and studied the object. A chime suddenly echoed around the room. He turned to see a man in a suit enter the cell with a stunned look on his face.
Oh,
He was looking.
whoa, that's so cool to me because I haven't checked this out yet. This was one of the SCPs I was supposed to cover, and now I kind of want to cover it. Oh my gosh, do I have it on the list? This is like the butler's bell or whatever. Bro, that's so cool. So this is the butler, and it's like a safe SCP, right? Oh, I gotta do that now. That's so cool. That just made me so happy.
Looking at him. Finally, he was being appreciated. And just as quickly he wasn't. The man was now looking at the corpse with a look of sadness and guilt. Regardless, he closed his eyes and the rage came back to the statue. It promptly snapped the man's neck
when you close
and left
your
the
eyes.
cell, leaving the corpses to rot. The labyrinthian hallways and corridors gave.
Whoo, that was a freaking drawing, bro. I thought the soul sucked, like sunken corpse was creepy, but I think that was more grim. That scene right there where he cracked the wait, the butler can be killed? I thought the butler was like, I haven't seen the SCP. I didn't watch the video that I was recommended, so I don't know about the butler. But the butler is actually a physical. You can kill him or he can't die. Because like, what if you ring the bell? Is he gonna spawn again? It was something with teleporting, right? I don't know. I'm not gonna go any further. But that drawing was way more gruesome than this next one right here. This one is dark, but that one was horrible. That was a great drawing.
Way to offices and recreational areas. Here he came across the remains of those who had once called this their home. Bullets to the head. Every one of them.
Bullets to the head.
He could hear voices and he followed them.
Oh!
Though a shelf blocked
It's the
his
boy!
way, an old man and a woman in rags stood over the huddled, crying form of a
Who's
young
the woman
girl at
in
the end of the
rags?
corridor. The old man turned to look at him. This was not admiration. This felt cold. It felt like the gaze was piercing his very soul. The woman led the girl around a corner and out of sight. The old man smiled at him, and also backed his way around the corner and out of sight.
The sun does not shine in the blank. That's because blocked off. Spill your blood for the angel of darkness. What the hell?
He found the office of the HMCL supervisor. The man's torso was missing,
Whoo!
but his lower half
He's
still
body.
sat in the chair at the desk. 173 shoved the remains aside and looked at the desk. His own documentation was there, buried under various reports and warnings about the apocalypse going on outside.
Damn.
It mentioned that whenever someone looked at 173, that he was unable to move. Lies. It was them who froze. Eyes shut and mouths agape in panic. It was them who refused to behold.
That's really cool because this is like what's going on in his consciousness or his own mind. He's like, no, yeah, they froze. That's really cool. And this is all written by SCP Illustrated. Bro, this makes me want to write my own. This is so sick. I like how he's giving life to SCP-173 in a way that at least I haven't seen before because I haven't seen it. Like, I haven't researched so much. But this is really cool. This is a cool way to look at it. And it's cool that he's free. But that makes sense because when in the game, when SCP-173B just behind random doors, he can freely move when no one's looking at him. So it's really creepy to think what it looks like when it's moving. And when like no one has probably seen him move because like they gotta blink and then he shifts. But imagine what he looks like when he's just casually walking around.
His beauty. He threw the document down. He moved back towards the door. 173 wandered the site looking for the exit and reading notices on the wall.
Before I continue, he keeps talking about his beauty, so that's one thing I wanted to bring back. Is SCP like a failed sculpture of some sort? Because he keeps talking about, or is I say SCP, is 173 a failed sculpture that was like supposed to look really good, but then like the artist gave up? Is that the original story or something like that, or it's just this sculpture that no one knew about? Because I kind of see how the beauty thing is playing a role too. It was like a sculpture that was like never finished. But yeah.
A flickering screen looped a message.
Functioning site, we are experiencing an XK class end of the world scenario. I repeat, we are experiencing an XK class end of the world scenario. Please be advised that exposure to sunlight is to be considered valid reason for termination. If you suspect a colleague has been turned, say something. More instructions will follow.
Exposure to sunlight is to be considered a valid reason for termination? What the fuck is going on?
This screen was covered in dried brown liquid. Blood, he assumed, from the body slumped to the floor next to it. What did these people have against the light? There on the floor he noticed a lump of something strange. It was snaking from around the corner and had the corpse by the leg. It, like everything always was for him, was frozen in place. But he couldn't help but follow it. The strange, fleshy tentacle disappeared into a mass as large as the hallway itself just around the corner. A thing with eyes, hundreds of them, all looking at him.
The flesh that
hates. And suddenly, it wasn't frozen at all. But neither was he. This was a new feeling, an experience unlike any other in his life. Someone, or something, finally saw him.
No.
You.
The voice said with a sense of finality.
Me?
173 thought to himself. Was this it? The moment of recognition? Would he finally be appreciated for what he was?
This looks like some freaky scene that you would not want to see. Like, not like see in person, because of course you wouldn't want to see that. No, you'd probably be dead, but you'd be the body getting dragged. This is like some weird going down the hentai category.
The creature reached another tentacle out and caressed the side of 173's face.
I've been waiting for you. Come into the sun, so I can see how beautiful you really are.
What?
He moved forward with the creature, which slurped and lurched his way backwards down the hallway. All of its eyes were looking directly into his very being. For the first time in his long and fruitless life, he was finally and truly seen. The creature wasn't recoiling in fear. It wasn't closing its eyes out of disgust. It appreciated him for what he was.
It doesn't need to close its eyes.
Up the staircase he went. When 173 stumbled and nearly fell, the monster caught him. It cradled him. It carried him the rest of the way up. He caught a brief sight of several teddy bears made from all kinds of objects, watching him from the shadow.
Bro, this is like all the SCPs in one video that, or some of them that I've watched. Bro, this is sick.
They were scared.
Is that a teddy bear right there made of like paper or aluminum hugging this teddy bear? Bro, this is so sick. This is like the coolest thing I've seen. How he's like putting like
made of paper and tape was hugging another made of string, while another made from crisp packets appeared to cry into the shoulder of one that looked perfectly normal.
Oh, right there.
It waved at him as he passed by. The creature led him gingerly.
It's funny, I'm trying not to read it because in his videos before I try not to read it because I'll read ahead. Like I'll read way faster. So that's funny. It actually was working. That was cool. They made of crisp packets.
Onward. They passed through a final long corridor painted in blood and gore. The sight of an obvious massacre didn't faze him. He knew now that these people were fools. They'd been too afraid to admire him, and they were too foolish to...
I know, I'm sorry. I know, reaction videos shouldn't make cuts. but when I follow up the cuts, I'm still there. But I gotta see something real quick. Okay, I gotta finish this video, and then like it's weird, like the smell, like not like smoke, not like fire, but the smell of like smoke is coming into where I am, and I gotta check. I don't like that. Not like anything serious. Like I actually went to check, and I know what it is, so I just gotta handle that after this. But they've been too afraid to admire him, and they were too foolish to admire the creature too. They deserved what they got. The rage nearly bubbled up in him again.
Admire this creature too.
I want to know the deal with
They
the sun.
deserved what they got. The rage nearly bubbled up again in him. The two of them saw the light together. Blinding. Beautiful. He felt the voice in his mind now.
I want to share my beauty as well, but they resist so very much. I know you're suffering.
173's mind went back to imagining the fate of those in the corridor they had just come through.
Like
Something was
the
wrong.
scientists?
The sunlight felt odd to him. It was in his head, even more so than before.
What are you doing?
He thought at the entity.
I'm taking away your suffering. There is nothing to fear anymore. I see you for what you are.
Beautiful.
173 thought as his mind began to cloud.
No,
Yes.
don't buy this.
Beautiful.
Do not buy this, bro.
The feeling of peace enveloped 173
This is like
completely.
some Bird Box
He felt
shit.
content. He felt love.
No.
All those years of imprisonment and torture, all the experiments, all the bodies, all the cross-testing, the heart-wrenching feelings of sadness and despair after his master left him. None of it mattered anymore. Finally, something loved him for what he was. Finally, something saw him as beautiful. He gazed into the sun's majesty and could feel billions of eyes watching him, without judgment, but admiration. He let the sun's rays shroud him in loving warmth.
I just realized something that's actually pretty beautiful about the story. But it's a double-edged sword kind of situation.
Suddenly, he felt stiff. He felt his rebar begin to seize and his mind to begin to leave him. He could feel it being pulled towards the sun. This was how he ended. He didn't care. The sunlight itself would appreciate his beauty, now and for all time.
Wow.
The sunlight shined down on the remains of Site-19 for quite some time after that. The statue remained there at the entrance, seemingly entranced by
Wow.
the sight of the sun. It did not move, it did not think, it did not see. Then one day, so very much later, a single shining steel tube flew directly over what remained of SCP-173 and Site-19. The fruits of labour from another time and another world.
What?
When the flash of nuclear radiation washed over 173, what was left of it didn't notice or care. The concrete and rebar statue simply crumbled away to join the dust and sand. The light was blinding. And that concludes this 173 When Day Breaks tale. There will be more When Day Breaks in July, as well as a whole load of future When Day Breaks covering The Angel of Darkness Part 2, St. Elmo's Fire Part 3, and some other standalone SCPs too, so make sure you like and subscribe for more of that content. Please consider joining the Patreon, it really helps, and it is a...
When day breaks is the end of the world, SCP, right? It's like what's happening during when day breaks. Okay. Got a few things to say, so I'm gonna say them. Okay. First off. Yeah, I don't like that smell. Oh, gotta handle that. Oh, you can see my stomach. Ah. Okay. No. Okay. That was actually a beautiful ending. I realized that the SCPs getting free was kind of like a good thing because they are being used. Like, from watching Confinement, a lot of them are being used as experiments and being treated as such and not being treated really nice. There are some SCPs that do get treated well, but they literally are still treated like SCP. Like, nah, you're in containment, even though maybe you could break it or whatever, but you're still an SCP, so it's like they're discriminated against. So them getting free is kind of like a happy ending, but also pretty dark, because it's like the humanity side of things, like fucked up for humanity. But then again, I'm with the SCPs that get treated bad. But then it's actually bad that the SCPs that are actually dangerous, and most likely dangerous to other SCPs, got released too. And I'm pretty sure that was the Flesh That Hates, which was really cool. But I'm not entirely sure if that was the Flesh That Hates. But if it was, that was sick. The teddy bears too, that was so cute. I like the teddy bear SCP one. That was like one of my favorite SCPs to hear about, or to learn about. As for all the drawings, shout out to SCP Illustrated again. Those were so cool. They look so well. And I like the story of like kind of what was going through SCP-173's mind as day broke. So the day when day breaks must be the end of the world SCP. And like now I'm thinking, like I'm trying to use critical thinking to think about this. But basically, let me guess, like the series is all what's going through the other SCP's mind as this happens. So like, is there one about the bears, like this, the side from the bears? I don't know, I'll have to watch more. Let me know down below if you made it this far, which When Day Breaks I should watch. Like I said, I hopped on this one because it was uploaded 5 days ago, and I wasn't given any specifics on which one to watch, but this was actually really enjoyable. I never thought of SCP-173 having consciousness. I always thought of it as just this entity that was just, it operated in one way. You see it, it's an art project gone mad. You see it, you blink, you're dead if you're not within range to like hold your eyes open and back up as far as you can. Also, I don't even know if it has like a distance limit that it can hop to you. So yeah, so that was very, very cool. What else? There was something else. The whole thing with the sun was really creepy. It was the sun itself, like the SCP, and then it was like, how are they gonna stop an end of the world scenario type of was there any way to stop it? Because they were still talking about like if anyone has seen the sun, terminate them. But then it was like also a beautiful ending too, because like after witnessing the sun, it's almost like it removed your consciousness or like made you feel nothing but, I don't know if it's the same for every single SCP like that would have happened there, but it made you feel like it was like almost like for SCP-173's case, it was everything he wanted. It was the admiration, just people to look at him, and he felt like that heavenly presence and felt like his consciousness separate from his frame. And then basically that comment that came after when SCP Illustrated, spoke the part. I don't know why I'm just not saying read. It's like my mind is going too many places to try to explain it. But when he read his part, that he said that nothing really remained of SCP-173, or before that part, it was just that, like, it was just the body, that remaining part, before he was sand and dust and pebbles and particles from the nuclear thing. But it was just like SCP was, or 173 was just pretty much an empty husk at that point. So it's like the comet or the it wasn't a comet. I thought it was a comet because of how the animation, but the nuclear blast basically wouldn't have done anything because like the body was a husk. So it's almost like the sun, if the sun was doing that to all SCPs, it released them before they could feel any pain. So that's like a beautiful kind of a dark, beautiful ending to it. Really enjoyed that. I'm out of here. Much love in Moonlight. And if you guys enjoyed that, subscribe or let me know down below how you feel. And love you guys. I'm out of here, and I'm going to go topple that smoke spell. Peace.